Welcome back to Cinema Flicks Music Picks. I'm Dave, your host with the most, the beast with the least. Least we can do today is one of these end of month, start of month haul videos. I don't really care about all that, but it's a good chance for me to just get stuff catalogued and on the shelves. Off tables, onto shelves. So here we go. Here we are, and there we be. So, good place to start is always the beginning. Not always the most interesting, so let's skip it and go to the end. So most recently, what arrived? Amazon Germany had an offer on where you could pick, 5 for 20 euros, and then you get €5 off if you spent 15. So it ended up being like £14 for 5 Blu-rays. So if you see some random German ones in here, in fact they're scattered throughout. So look after the Germans. So, well, insert your own punchline there, folks. Cromwell. Yeah, Cromwell with Richard Harris and Alec Guinness from 1970, where Alec Guinness plays King James VII, or if you're English, King James II. Either way, it didn't end well for him. Yeah, good performance from Richard Harris. Bit long, but I do remember liking it. One that I have on DVD still from Arrow Video, on DVD from way back in the white box days, but I've not got it on Blu-ray, is Kentucky Fried Movie. It's John Landis and the Zuckers, isn't it? Kind of combination of. So, yeah, I remember loving this. In fact, I do love this. That whole Kung Fu parody in the middle of it's just genius. Absolute genius. But yeah, Kentucky Fried Movie. Or if you're in Germany, Kentucky Fried Movie. Apparently it doesn't translate. The sequel to a film that's just about to be released by Indicator, or just has been, but they seem to be rather late with deliveries these days, old Indicator, which is The Big Gun Down, and the sequel being sequel is kind of spin-off for Thomas Milan's character, the knife thrower from The Big Gun Down, and it is Run Man Run from Masters of Cinema. So, bit of a shame that it's always a shame when kind of consecutive films don't get the same company, and the same company can't do the same treatment. We can't get it in the big box and whatnot. But hey, Masters of Cinema are always going to give it a damn good treatment anyway, as you can see here. They have done with limited edition slipcase. The theatrical cut, 85 minutes, so the normal version is 120 minutes, so that shows you how much was cut down. Jeez Louise, it's good 35 minutes, yeah, see, math is impeccable. Restored English mono, audio commentary with Kim Newman and Barry Forshaw on the uncut version. Kim and Barry, what a team. And audio commentary with Howard Hughes and Richard New. What did Richard know? And how does he know Howard Hughes? It was a bit of a coup getting Howard Hughes back for this. I thought he was dead. Theatrical trailer, sleeve, disc, interactive menus. So yeah, another good addition to the Western collection. One that I didn't even know was on Blu-ray. And then I felt like an idiot. Is Gareth Evans' first film before he did the Raid movies, Raid and Raid Vengeance, Merentau, yeah, which is also an action-packed movie, and it also stars what's his name? Wait, I can never pronounce his name. Yeah, so he's in here with rather longer hair, but yeah, so looking forward to watching that one because I love the Raid movies. Also from Masters of Cinema, and they're releasing all 4 of these movies, although it's not really a related series, it's just kind of vaguely linked, but they're giving them similar boxes. It's this month's addition to the Michelle Wow collection, Royal Warriors. So this was a kind of follow-up to Yes Madam. She's a Japanese CID officer. She hooks up with an Interpol agent and a security guard. There's a big hijacking, and there's veterans of the Vietnam War who are out for, also just an excuse to have some crazy action. As you can probably pick up from what's going on in the cover, there's already cars flying in every direction. Not the best haircut for Michelle Yeoh. She's got the same haircut as Jackie Chan there. Film about me. Yeah, so this is a really good dark comedy, social paranoia, good British movie. Came out last year, excuse me. One of those that you would stumble across in the BFI player and go, God, that was bloody good. But yeah, well worth picking up. Packed with extras, even though it's a new movie. Packed with extras. So yeah, highly recommended. Hitler's Hollywood from Eureka. Nazi cinema was a state-controlled industry subject to rigid political and cultural censorship. At the same time, it aspired to be great cinema. Yes, it did, didn't it? With Leni Riefenstahl and the likes. It viewed itself as an ideological and aesthetic alternative to Hollywood, a German dream factory. Hitler's Hollywood takes a closer look at the 1,000 feature films made in Germany between 1933 and 1945, examining how stereotypes of the enemy and values of love and hate managed to be planted into the heads of the German people through the cinema screens. So I thought that'd be, it's not exactly going to be a good laugh, but it'd be interesting from a different standpoint of view from cinema history. And it also features the documentary from the same filmmaker, From Caligari to Hitler, which is almost a kind of prequel. It takes you through well, as it says, from Dr. Caligari in 1919 through to 1933 when Hitler became Chancellor. So it takes you through that golden age of German silent cinema with Murnau and Fritz Lang and the like. So yeah, looking forward to seeing that. And say one about Hitler. Seriously, dude, he was a very bad man. Although, in all fairness, he was the only man to ever kill Adolf Hitler. Well, this one I got for free. I don't know why I said that in a kind of Jimmy Stewart voice there for no real reason. This one I got for free. Imprint down in Australia sent me the wrong movie in December. And I said, well, I'm not sending you this one back unless you pay for postage. It's going to cost me $10. And they said, well, keep it then, mate. Probably. And it is Jacques Lemon in Save the Tiger, which I watched, and it's a perfectly serviceable film. But you know what it is? It's one of these films that comes out almost exactly this time of year every year, where it's a decent film, but with a brilliant lead performance. So it's almost designed for the lead actor to get an Oscar nomination. That's almost exactly what this is. Like, if it starred a lesser actor, it would be completely forgotten. Completely Sunday movie, TV movie, the weekend of story. But it's got Jack Lemmon, so, he gets an Oscar nomination, everybody goes home happy. Hey. But yeah, it's not the most interesting movie. Here's one of the German deals. Well, Das Traumteam, which is the Dream Team with Michael Keaton, Christopher Lloyd, and Peter Boyle. This is well, I don't think this would be a very PC film in today's releases, but it's a bunch of guys from an asylum, I guess, kind of bust loose on a day trip and kind of run amok in the big city. It's funny, but it's quite sad and quite dark in places. And Christopher Lloyd kind of been pigeonholed here because he was also in an escaped asylum plot in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, wasn't he? He was in that. So, old Christopher Lloyd. When we look for an escaped Looney, we will contact you. The new film from Peter Strickland, Flux Gourmet, and if you know Peter Strickland's work, it's his weirdest to date. He gets weirder and weirder and weirder. But it's a great examination of arts and artistic struggle, but there's some strange stuff involving food in this, even though it's ostensibly about musical art. But there's so many parts that involve food. And gosh, I mean, he started out his filmmaking career weird with Barbarian Sound Studio, and it's just got weirder ever since with like In Fabric and stuff. But this is a whole nother level. It's got Gwendolyn Christie and Asa Butterfield, and great cast. Who they're all in tune with them. When you have a filmmaker who's kind of off the beaten path, you really need them to be in tune, and he is. Around the World in 80 Days. Don't know why I'm doing so much German accent stuff today. I don't know why. Around the World in 80 Days with David Tennant and some other people. Leone Benech and Ibrahim Koma. This was a terrific series on the BBC. It is just the story of Phileas Fogg, but what it does is every episode is serialised to take you through to the next stop on Phileas Fogg's great adventure. But at the same time, each episode doesn't feel like it's just an episode. It feels like its own little mini adventure, which is great. So it's kind of combination of the standalone and the serialised towards the larger story. And terrific stuff, very emotional at the end. Actually got me very emotional. It's got one of my favourite actors, Unbilled, plays a little cameo in it towards the end. And they set up a sequel series for this, which if you know your Jules Verne, then you might be wondering who's coming next. It's the Nautilus. It's Captain Nemo and the Nautilus that get mentioned in the last episode. Bait by Mark Jenkin. I'd seen this but didn't own the Bluray. And his new film's out, Erismen, which looks to be one of the best folk horrors in ages. I'm dying to see it. And this was his debut film and is absolutely fantastic too. And so I thought, well, I better pick that up, and then I'll pick up Erismen when it comes out, also from the BFI. It's already up for pre-order. Mark Kermode does an audio commentary with this, and he says that the new film is already probably going to be his film of the year. So it's fair to say Mark Kermode's a Mark Jenkin fan. But this was funny and poignant, whereas the new one looks dark and really, really Wickerman-y. But this is yeah, there you go, a genuine modern masterpiece, Mark Kermode. I think it's fair to say he's a fan. So am I of the one film that I have seen. It's only done two, and one's still in the cinema. Give me a break. Mickey Spillane's I, the Jury, starring Biff Elliott as Mike Hammer. Now, I love Mike Hammer when he's played by Stacey Keach, or when he's played by what's his name, who did it in Kiss Me Deadly. Oh god, that's gonna annoy me. Anyway, I love Mike Hammer. He's a great PI character, great tough guy, no nonsense detective. Well, he's not a detective, he's a PI. But there's a reason why Biff Elliott's not a household name, put it that way. I watched this a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, I mean, it's released as part of the Cult Classic series by Studio Canal. This is not a cult classic. It's not a cult classic. No way, no how. Biff Elliott went on to nothing. I looked him up, and he's got a tiny role in an episode of Star Trek. He was in a couple of war movies. Well, what ones was he in? But it was, it was like third mate on deckhand. It was like, Christ, that sounds like an important part. But interestingly, it says new audio commentary with Biff Elliott, a new interview with Biff Elliott. Biff died in 2012. So, well done to Studio Canal. Getting new interviews with dead people is quite remarkable. Quite remarkable. So, whatever they're doing, I'm not sure if you've got the Ouija board out or what, or you've conjured up some kind of spirits, but really, if you're going to speak to the dead, don't start with Biff Elliott. Come on. The Oily Maniac, which is just fun to say, isn't it? The Oily Maniac. This is a Shaw Brothers film, which ostensibly is the best way to describe it, and I think it might even... Does it describe it like this on the back? I think it does, and I stole it from this. Sorry, I thought I invented it. It's essentially the Shaw Brothers version of the Toxic Avenger, where, yeah, it's a monster, but he's not the bad guy. But he's absolutely dripping with horrible... Yeah. The Oily Maniac. And, look, cuddle up to the Oily Maniac. The Oily Maniac. That's pretty sure I was called that once. The Ballad of Tam Lin sounds like it should be an Asian thing, doesn't it? Tam Lin. Could easily be. It's Scottish. It's Tam as in short for Thomas. And it's an old Scottish folk story. But the film version stars Ava Gardner from, Ava Gardner, megastar, and Ian McShane from Lovejoy. And it's the only film ever directed by Roddy McDowall himself. Roddy McDowall. So it's bizarre. I mean, it's such a strange cast, such a strange film. I mean, it's set in this remote Scottish moorland retreat. Ava Gardner's a widow in it, and Ian McShane's a kind of swinging Londoner hipster photographer or something, an artist or something. And yeah, weird stuff happens when he comes up. Weird stuff starts to happen. It's almost kind of folk horror, but there's drugs and there's real threat and menace throughout it. It's not as whimsical or whatever's the name, and perhaps just that kind of cover makes it look out to be. It's pretty. There you go. The BBFC. Strong threat, sexual threat, and drug misuse. Drug use is okay, but misuse, yeah. This was one I was on 88 Films website doing some pre-ordering, and this was in the sale at $5.99, and it pushed me over the free postage limit. I thought, well, that's daft to turn that down. Joe Bullitt, starring Ken Gampu. This was made, as it says there, under the apartheid regime. So it's a black South African film made under the apartheid regime and banned. And it's fascinating. I mean, I watched it a couple of weeks ago again, and it's really strange that they managed to sneak in a whole film. I mean, it's a kind of football film and a gangster film and martial arts. It's kind of everything in the movie, and it's not what you'd think where it's making a larger point about apartheid or anything. It's just, I mean, there are some parts where you can read it as allegory if you want to read it that way, but I'm sure the Boers weren't smart enough to see that kind of stuff. So it's just amazing that there was this film that snuck in under the radar from South Africa under the apartheid regime with a black cast. Just miraculous. So yeah, wonderful stuff. And there's an audio commentary with the writer-director and documentary filmmaker Benjamin Cowley. Not much else, but that's interesting enough because you want to know the story behind how did this come to be. Just terrific stuff. 88, go back to doing stuff like this as well. I love what you're doing with martial arts, but that is fascinating. Was this another one I just randomly picked up from 88 in their sale, was it? Can't remember. But it's, and I never pronounced this bloody word right, Poliziotechi. I think I did get it right there. It's the Poliziotechi, early one, because it's 1970, starring Charles Bronson. Can't really do Charles Bronson. You believe in Jesus, you're going to meet him. Amen. And Telly Savalas, loves you, baby. And it is, Violent City. So it's almost Polizio. I mean, it's an Italian-made Italian production, but it films in San Francisco for a lot of the scenes. So casting 2 American stars instead of just one, and then, you know, the all European cast as usual. Casting 2 American stars and filming it in iconic San Francisco streets. You know, we've seen them all before. It's the streets that we see Dirty Harry flying down and things, you know. Or the streets of San Francisco, indeed, with Michael Douglas and Karl Malden. Or Bullet, why not? Let's keep going. But giving you that iconic backing, and with 2 iconic stars of the era, although they weren't quite icons yet. I mean, they were both well-known faces. But Charles Bronson hadn't done like Death Wish and stuff yet. He had done the war movies. He'd just done Once Upon a Time in the West. Telly Savalas wasn't obviously in Kojak yet, but he was coming off of like Kelly's Heroes and stuff. So, you know, they were both kind of coming towards the peak of and where they would be heading to, you know, for their most known, best known parts. Sink the Bismarck. This is one of those titles that I picked up because it's a Fox title, and therefore Eureka have lost the license because Disney are pulling all the Fox titles once they're up for renewal. So yeah, Sink the Bismarck. World War II movie, of course. Who doesn't know the story of the Bismarck? You know, put it this way, spoil the title. But yeah, it's an old school classic of bank holidays and things. And it's directed by Lewis Gilbert, who did The Spy Who Loved Me and Alfie. What's it all about? Bismarck. Yeah, so fun watch from an old school kind of, let's get them boys, tally ho. You know, it's full of those kind of actors like, we'll give Jerry what for. Oh, so great. Did anybody actually talk like that back in the day? When did the accent disappear? Yeah. We'll show old Adolf what we're made of. Good old Blighty. Fucking hell. Where did you grow up? Certainly wasn't around here. Almost a triple bill from 101 films. And they're not a triple bill in the slightest, but they're all kind of B movies of a certain era. The Mole People. So yeah, Monsters from a Lost Age. Extras include a different ratio. Tells you on the top. It's not an extra. It's not an extra. Yeah, so guys, you can even see how bad the makeup is there. But yeah, so the Mole People. But I just like B movies from that era. You know, I love bad. In fact, sometimes the worse they are, the better they are for my needs. This one's got a bit of an all-star cast, The Lost World. I think this one's more of an A movie going into B. You know, it's like, okay, you've cast Michael Rennie, so you're definitely a B movie because Michael Rennie's your star. But you do have Claude Rains in there, Miserable Man himself, although wishes he was on the set of this pish. Written by Arthur Conan Doyle. And David Hedison's in here as well, who would be Felix Leiter in 2 Bond films, Live and Let Die and License to Kill. 16 years apart. Bond geekiness factor times 10. Yeah, Lost World. And Jill St. John's in it. Yeah, so there we go. It's one of the Irwin Allen movies of the era, and doesn't even have any extras on it whatsoever. And finally, this one doesn't even have, well, this one tells you it's got a reversible sleeve and a poster, but this is The Land Unknown, starring Jock Mahoney. Jock Mahoney sounds like a fake name that I'd used to check into a hotel for explicit reasons. Jock Mahoney. I'm going to put another punchline in there because, yeah. But The Land Unknown, another one of these old school, you know. It's this one's a bit more oh goodness, Mysterious Island, a bit more like that, or quality wise, to be honest, a bit more At the Earth's Core. That's more where we are with the quality of film here, a bit more late Amicus than classic Harryhausen. Another one of the German collection is Und Gerrit geht für alle. And Gerrit geht für alle. Or as we know it, and Justice for All. I'm a sucker for courtroom movies, especially when they've got an actor who can chew the scenery, and good old Al. So this is 1979, and it's got a great supporting cast too. Jack Warden from Shampoo and Used Cars. John Forsyth from, well, he was Charlie in Charlie's Angels, lest we forget. Was he? Yeah, he was. Lee Strasberg, method actor extraordinaire, creator of the Actors Studio, and of course Al Pacino, star. Norman Jewison directs. Pretty standard fare, but there's some kind of cool things that set it apart. Al Pacino's character is idealistic, but not to the point of goody two shoes. And yeah, there's good guys and bad guys, but it's not as simple as as all that. There's a few more shades of grey than you get in these kind of movies quite a lot of the time. And you get Al Pacino and Justice for All. Who wants justice? You want justice? You want justice? Justice for all. Ha! That was before he had that voice. It was more 70s. So you want justice, Sonny? Justice for all. What happened to Al's voice? Seriously, nobody ever answered me. Just out this week, and I saw it in the cinema, the pictures, the flicks. Banshees of Inisherin. And to say that I don't like it as much as the much vaunted In Bruges isn't an insult, because In Bruges is a complete and utter masterpiece. This feels more stagey. It feels more like they're doubling down on the aspects of that people liked, so just the banter, the relationship between Gleeson and Farrell. So it kind of doubles down on that part. But Barry Keoghan's great in it. It's a really, really good film, but it's not a great film like In Bruges. It's not a great film. So it's good to have the band back together, but kind of get the feeling they're kind of playing the greatest hits. But everybody's great in it, obviously, and it's a fantastic watch. It's just in comparison to In Bruges, and they want to compare it to In Bruges because that's why they got the same cast and the same crew back. So they're inviting a comparison. So to compare it lets it down, but taking on its own merits, it's a damn good movie. And a bit like what was it, Save the Tiger, that I said this about. Probably better for the acting performances and dialogue than anything else. There's no great filmmaking involved in it from Martin McDonagh, but yeah, don't need to go on about this because I did a video the other day. King Kong lives until he doesn't. One that I have to thank my buddy Sam, film blogger Sam, for saying, "You better buy this, you fucking prick." He was really nasty about it, but he used an emoji, so no, it wasn't. Sam's too lovely for that. The Pimini Organisation, which sounds like it should be a crime movie, doesn't it, on its own? Hey, we're part of the Pimini Organisation. We're taking down the Fanucci's. You want to join the Piminis, huh? No, the Pimini Organisation was a portmanteau of two guys' names. And they set up an independent British production company to make films. Didn't work out too well. And this is their output, all in its entirety. So, yeah, Edward Woodward, and remember the joke? Why does Edward Woodward have 4 D's in his name? Because Ewar Woowar just wouldn't cut it. And June Ritchie. Assassin, starring Ian Hendry, who, lest we forget, was the first Avengers girl. True story. Edward Judd, speaking of people who were in early Harryhausen things, because he was in First Men in the Moon. Ray Brooks, veteran of many's a Doctor Who. And then you get Moments with Keith Mitchell and Angrad Rees. All written by Michael Sloan and directed by Peter Crane. 3 lost films produced by one of the most vibrant British independence of the 70s, rescued from the archives and presented for the first time on any home video. So not even beta, not even VHS, not even those little PlayStation pocket discs. But yeah, Sam said, you really need to see these, you really need to see these, and I take his opinion seriously, and yeah, you know, looking at the cast and things, I was like, well, that seems like a no-brainer, so. But one that I picked up despite the bad reviews, and I'm glad I did, is David O. Russell's Amsterdam. I loved it. I thought it was great. I mean, first of all, what a cast. Christian Bale, Margot Robbie, John David Washington, Chris Rock, Anya Taylor-Joy, Zoe Saldana, Mike Myers, Michael Shannon, Timothy Olyphant, Andrea Riseborough, Taylor Swift, Rami Malek, and Robert De Niro. I know, tell me about it. I mean, Christ almighty, that is a cast and a half. But this was, I mean, it's a big, kind of epic, overblown, sumptuous-looking film. It's a crime, kind of capery thing, but it goes on for a good few years. It's not a short story, just you know, like a few weeks in the life of. It's quite a long-going story, which spans, yeah, you know. And John David Washington has proven to be, you know, what a shadow he has to follow in his father's footsteps, being Denzel's kid, but he's done so well in the movies that he's made. I'm not going to give you my opinions on this, because I'm going to be doing a video on it with Sam, the aforementioned film blogger Sam. But it is Lynch Oz, and it examines the influences and parallels of David Lynch's work with Wizard of Oz, essentially. Obviously that's in Wild at Heart, most prominently you can see it, but this goes deeper than that. It doesn't just say, oh, obviously she plays, we've got Cheryl Lee as the Good Fairy, so that's another obvious one. She's Glinda, but no, it goes a bit deeper than that to look for some real, you know, deep cuts, and you need to be a fan of Lynch's work to really appreciate this, otherwise you're going to be bored to tears, honestly. But actually I'm going to keep my thoughts as I said, but yeah, don't jump into that one if you're maybe just an Oz fan but not a David Lynch fan. I have to thank my buddies on the Monsters Den, on Sea of Tranquility for this. Craig was the one that saw it, Craig Kaminsky, and Chris Allo had told me about it. Pete had already seen it. I think that was the way of things. And when I heard the main actor's name, I thought, I need to see this, I don't care what it's about. The main actor is called Warhawk Tanzania, and the film is Devil's Express, and again, starring Warhawk Tanzania. And I'm going to do a separate video about this, so yeah, I'm not giving you my thoughts, but put it this way, there's a reason why I'm doing a separate video on it, because it's going to be fucking mental to tell you what this is about. Warhawk Tanzania. Fucking hell. David Gallagher. Standard name. You know, hi, David Gallagher, nice to meet you. Warhawk Tanzania. Fucking hell. No need to shout. Well, this is a hard watch. Also from Indicator, The Brute, with Sarah Douglas, who most people probably know Sarah Douglas now from Superman 3, probably. She's the female of the two lieutenants who come with General Zod to fight Superman in Superman 2, sorry, not Superman 3. That would be the one with Richard Pryor. Superman! So Sarah Douglas is the female general, I think she is. Well, she can't be a general if it's Zod, but lieutenant, who cares? But in this, oh my god, Julian Glover crikey, he's been in a million Doctor Who's, he's been in Game of Thrones, he's been in Indiana Jones, he's been in James Bond, did I say Game of Thrones? Turn on the telly tonight, it'll be on something. But here, I can't recommend this to you. This is one that you're going to have to read about on your own. The film Women's Lib, forced out of the cinema, is brutal, it's explicit, and it's about spousal abuse. The performances are amazing and incredibly brave. Julian Glover, to let himself even portray such a horrible character, that's a very brave thing. To play it as violently as he does, and for Sarah Douglas to be so vulnerable, yeah, phenomenal stuff. But again, too many trigger warnings and that for me to say whether it's good or bad. I think you really need to know your own limitations when it comes to a film like that, because that's too real. You know, it's not like fucking dinosaur movies that we're looking at. You know, that's too real, too close to home for some. So yeah, make your own mind up on that. It's wonderfully done, but I'm not going to give any kind of anything more than that. I've not watched this yet, only came yesterday. Mr. Klein, by Joseph Losey, starring possibly the coolest actor that ever lived, Alain Delon. I mean, when you've been Le Samurai himself, I think you can get away with being called the coolest actor ever. I just know this because it's considered one of the great political thrillers of the era. It's also out from Criterion. Joseph Losey's picked up a lot of steam in recent years as being, an unheralded true great of cinema. Yeah, looking forward to watching that one actually. The Dunwich Horror from Arrow Video. Of course, H.P. Lovecraft adaptation. So you hear names that are, Miskatonic University and things. You can expect Herbert West to walk in from Reanimator, or you can expect Cthulhu talk. It doesn't always stick very closely to Lovecraft, but when it does, there's some really cool stuff. And you get an audio commentary by Guy Adams, which is really cool because I love his audio adaptation of Adam Adamant Lives. But he's also the guy who did a series of Lovecraft adaptations on audio for, was it Audible or something? So he does a commentary on here, which was really cool. It's got the Necronomicon in it, so it's an influential little movie, to say the least. But yeah, it's Lovecraftian enough that you won't be too confused as to what you're watching. It's 1970, and you can tell the filmmakers want to be more faithful to the source material, but the film producers are probably just saying, make it more explicit, more violent, so we can sell some more, that kind of thing. We've been here, we've seen it, we've done it. The latest, which, did this come out at the very end of the year or the very start of this year? I can't remember. I suppose it doesn't matter. The latest film from Park Chan-wook, obviously of the Vengeance trilogy fame and The Handmaiden and JSA and things. Decision to Leave. Maybe I've put this out in the UK, which is rather nice. I've not watched it yet. It's been the fact that it's been here for probably a month. Just not found time to get around and watching it, but I'm very much looking forward to it because I do genuinely love Park Chan-wook's movies. He's a wonderful filmmaker. And looking at the scores on the front from reputable outlets, it's not like when you see Total Film or something, you're just like, oh shit, no bother, pal. These were on 2 for $20, so I just picked them up. Just kind of cheapo but fun, old school British thriller horrors. Fright, directed by Peter Collinson, with interesting cast: Honor Blackman, Susan George. Of course Susan George is in it. Of course she has to be. She was in fucking Straw Dogs. Ian Bannon himself, good old Ian. And John Gregson. So this is written by Tudor Gates, wasn't it? He did quite a few hammers. Yeah, Tudor Gates. He did The Vampire Lovers and Lust for a Vampire. Dennis Waterman's in it. Yeah. Babysitter in Peril, atmospheric horror, thrillery stuff. And Soon the Darkness, which has Pamela Franklin, Michelle Doutrice, and somebody that looks like James Woods to me there. Very weird seeing Michelle Doutrice here, because I'm like, you're Betty from Some Mothers Do Have 'Em. So when I see her in movies like this or Blood and Satan's Claw, I'm like, ooh, Betty. Troy Haworth does a commentary on this, and there's a commentary by Brian Clemens. That's right, Brian Clemens, creator of The Avengers and creator of The Professionals, and Robert West, the director, and a new interview with Kim Newman. That'll do. And while I'm waiting on this month's releases from them, the first two releases from the new label that started up, Radiance Films. So we have Big Time Gambling Boss and The Working Class Goes to Heaven. Haven't watched Working Class Goes to Heaven yet. That wasn't sent in the package originally, and I had to wait a little while for it to be resolved. This one, fantastic stuff. They do obi strips like Japanese CDs and albums. So if you don't want that to be on display, you can just take that out. A novelty, sure, but that's where you can list like the extras on the front and whatnot, and it also gives them a good space to advertise, also released stuff. So I thought that was a nice little idea. This was a sensational film by Kosuke Yamashita, I think that's how you say it. But yeah, let me get this back in. Do I lose my temper? And then last one for the month. One that was really weird. I ordered this, it came this week, and then literally the day it came, the next day, my good buddy who you've seen on the channel, Ryan, he texted me and said, I'm just watching this film by this director, Lucas Moodysson, on the Arrow player. And he didn't know that Arrow just released a box set, he just knew it was on the Arrow player, he just picked a movie. And I literally had this sitting right next to me when he texted me, which is really strange. It's not as if this is blockbuster releases. But yeah, Lucas Moodysson, the great Swedish director and writer and poet and presenter. He's done it all. He's one of those ridiculously talented guys that makes you quite embarrassed to be so untalented. But look at what Arrow have done for this. This is snazzy as all hell. Look at that. It comes off with all the kind of animated parts coming off. That's the shots from the film together. And then, right, look at that. That is your book. That is your book. It's a 180 page hardback book. Unreal. And at the top there with the white spine, the plain spine, that's another book of Lucas Moodysson's poetry that's never been translated into English from 2002. So you get a book that's not even been, it's not on the, to this day, it is not on the list of extras on the back, it is not on Arrow's website, there's just an unannounced book of poetry in there as well. Now, I've watched 2 films from this, and Ryan's watched he's battered in on the Arrow player, but I've not watched the ones that he did, so he's seen the more, the ones he was watching were more out there, put it that way, and mine weren't. But he jumped into Lila Forever and A Hole in My Heart, which he says are incredibly explicit and dark and, really messed up, and, so we'll see. I'm looking forward to the weekend to catch up on a few of these, but yeah, Lucas Moodysson collection. So I can recommend the ones that I've seen, and I can pretty much recommend the others too, because if Ryan recommends them, that's good enough for me. So Arrow, what a set for not an A-list name to put this kind of set together. This seems like Arrow Academy's back again, doesn't it? It's really unreal. Yeah, but so I mean, Lucas Medicine has been hailed as one of Sweden's greatest filmmaking talents, delighting and confounding audiences in equal measure. And the one I've seen is, or the two I've seen, well, Show Me Love, but in the original Swedish it's Fucking Amal. I know, language, Timothy. And then Together, which is a kind of comedy slacker movie almost, like a bit of commune in the 70s. The ones Ryan saw were extremely explicit, and yeah, put it this way, he's getting the 18 rating part. I'm not really seeing that yet, so I'll be interested to jump in. But contains very strong language, strong sex references, sexual violence, and surgical images. Somebody's getting their teeth out. Anyway, that's enough. That's enough for 1 month there. 46 minutes of me wittering on about stupid bloody things that just clog up space, and I watch them and then go, that was really, really good. That was really, really good, and put them on the shelf. Then move on. No, I love them deeply. But, thanks very much for your attention. If you made it this far, stay very safe out there, because my back's to the, see, this is curtainy thing, blinds I guess they're called. Stay very safe out, I don't know. And as always, love and mercy.